everyone. Welcome to Beyond Life Paranormal Research podcast. I'm your host, Russell Reynolds, on a new night. We are switching to Saturday nights from now on, and we got an awesome show tonight. Got a great guest. I've been bragging about it all day today to tune in tonight. So let me introduce my guest. As you saw the pictures, he is a cousin of mine. He's also the nephew of Ed and Lorraine Warren. He's got the nickname the Godfather of the Paranormal. He's been on the Haunted Collector TV show, has his own haunted museum with objects. He's been on TV shows, The Haunted, helping families. So, without further ado, let me bring him on, my cousin, John Zaffis.
Hey,
Hey, John, welcome to the show. It's finally good to
huh?
get you on this time.
We finally got it together.
We got a few people saying hello.
Hey, cool,
So,
cool, cool.
the ones that aren't familiar with you, tell them a little bit about yourselves and how long you've been doing this now.
Well, let's see. I got involved probably when I was about 15, 16 years old. Just would go out with my buddies checking out places and things like that. And at that point in time, my grandmother had passed away because she had lived with us. Now, Ed Warren and my mom were twins. So a lot of times when my mom would cook food, they always live like 20 minutes north of us. So she would say, "Bring some, food up. Bring the food up." So I would, and a lot of times they go, "Hey, we're going to go work on a case," and I would go with them, and that's how I ended up getting involved with it. And sometimes getting to go with them when they'd go to exorcisms. I mean, it's not too often you go to drop food off at somebody's house and they could come on. You want to go to an exorcism? So
Right.
again, back then I didn't think too much of a lot of those different things, but that's what made me start thinking about a lot of it and what's really got me involved with it. But when my grandmother had passed away, my grandfather had appeared to me, and he died when I was 4 years old. So I really don't remember him. And told my mom, she said, "Well, what did he do or say anything?" I just shook his head back and forth. She goes, "Well, that was my father." And she goes, "He was a very stern man, didn't really say too much, but he would always shake his head back and forth." So again, that's how I made that connection. And that's what made me start digging into it and really wanting to know what it was all about. And then my early 20s, that's when I said I wanted to learn about the demonology end of it. And very fortunate kid that I had the opportunity to work with two people that were so tied in with absolutely everything and anything in the supernatural field.
Yeah, and they are definitely the pioneers of this field. They paved the way for all of us.
Yep, they sure did. They paid the price for it too.
Oh yeah, they got heckled more than once about it. I know
Well,
that.
I'll tell you what. The poor, well, I know again. I laugh because it's about all you can do with a lot of this stuff is just laugh about it. And I'll go, geez, they're more popular now dead than they were when they were alive due to the movies and everything else. And
Right?
they get criticized twice as much now. So
Yep.
again, a lot of times I'll hear different things about cases I never even heard about. And I always thought I heard everything. And I'll go, where did that ever come from? Or how did
Yep.
that ever tie in with it? And I'm going, why didn't you talk about that when they were alive? So again, I get kind of baffled with things people come out with today.
Yeah.
So here
Were
I
you,
am going into 53 years later, still investigating the paranormal.
were you able to investigate the Amityville haunting with your aunt and uncle?
No, yeah. Again, I know when they were going, they were talking, and I was actually on the phone talking with him, and we were going back and forth. He was talking about it, but I was at school. Man, do I regret not going with them on that one. But the fortunate thing with Amityville is that later on in the years, I had the opportunity to get to know them. You know, George and I lectured several different times at a couple of conventions and a couple of colleges, Penn State. Got to know him pretty good and everything, and finding out, you know, just how many different things were never talked about or brought to the forefront is what was kind of bizarre. People didn't know, that George was involved with practicing things in the occult. He
Mm.
was known for, but it wasn't brought to the forefront. His grandfather owned the surveying company that surveyed the property from the house they bought. They lived right there. So again, how in the world could you not know what happened, with the
Right.
DeFeos and live in the same area? Just it never added up right.
No, it didn't. And I've
No.
always found that case fascinating too. And when I was younger and lived in New York, so I was not a couple hours away from Amityville. So,
Yeah. No, it's definitely, it's interesting with what people perceive and what you hear.
hmm
There's always going to be variations of different things that occur and happen with these cases, because people say, oh, all the Conjuring movies, most of that doesn't stay, according to what actually happened on the cases. None of these movies have. I don't care what it is, the Entity, Amityville, all of them. They just go all over the place. It's so to me, it's not unusual. I think one of them that really was derailed a lot and never made much sense to me was the movie when it came out, The Haunting in Connecticut.
Yep.
Because I sat and watched it, and I remember getting on the phone with Carmen after watching it, and I go, "Car, that has a, it's all over the place, But that's Hollywood; they do that with these, and I'm used to it from
Oh,
way back in the day when Ed and Lorraine used to go through it.
yep. That case you worked on with Ed and Lorraine, the Haunting in Connecticut case.
Yeah,
What was that figure that you've seen? I saw it on the TV show A Haunting.
correct. Okay, the documentary was closer to any reality than anything else. Carmen was able to actually give them a lot of information, and I was because I was involved with it, and I was able to
Mhm.
actually play John in it. The only thing that was blown out of proportion there was no fireball that came up the stairs. I did fall over because at one point I opened the door and I seen something and I fell back. I jumped back, so that part is true. But there wasn't a fireball. But there were several different situations. There was something that came down from the upper level staircase also too. That's the one where it said, "Do you know what they did to us? Do you know what they did to us?"
Mhm.
And that was the one that actually that situation really got to me. And that was the one that I wouldn't go back in the house for 3 days after that. Ed would call, the family would call, and I wouldn't take any phone calls. But fortunately, back then, Bishop McKenna was still around. He called me up and asked me what happened. So I told him, I said, I'm done with this, Bish. I don't want nothing to do with this stuff no more. And, we talked a little bit and he goes, well, are you going to let it win? And I go, well, what do you mean by that? He goes, its intent and purpose was to scare you enough so you wouldn't do it. He goes, if you don't go back, you're letting it win. I went, oh, Bish, you had to put it that way, right? So did I go back? Yeah. The exorcism was successful for that family. They moved out a couple of weeks after that. They did still have paranormal activity continue after, because
Mhm.
that's the other thing too that is always amazing with every one of these movies I've ever watched. They got a beginning, a middle, and the end. Everything ends, and
Yep.
but 9 out of 10 times it does not go that way with none of these cases.
Right.
So, and it's just the way it goes. I mean, Carmen and the family still had things occurring afterwards, not anywhere to the level of what they dealt with in that house, though.
And I know you worked a case for Keith and Carl Johnson too when they were kids.
Well,
Remember?
that we go back years and years and years. You got to remember, way back in the day, all of us were teenagers, and a lot of us all met. Up at Ed and Lorraine's house when they used to do little things what they call the Halloween room, or it was the Halloween room, and we'd all gather down there. I don't know if you've ever heard the name. He just recently passed away. Was Paul Eno?
Oh,
He's very Paul was very big in our field also. Keith, Carl, Paul, myself, all of us went back to when we were, 16, 17 years old, and we all met each other, all connected up at Ed and Lorraine's house. And the majority of us have stayed connected, throughout the years.
yeah, because I do
Yeah, they're
remember that
all
episode where you got called in to help them when they were communicating with the Ouija board in their house.
they had some crazy, crazy stuff that went on. Yeah. So it got them interested into what they do and how they do it today. So, but again, too, I think the majority of anybody and everybody that really did get involved with this had paranormal experiences one way or another. So as
Right.
kids, and then some of them that advances them to where they want to get involved with it and move forward with the work. I mean, that's the second set of twins. That had paranormal experiences. My set of twins, my mother didn't want to know nothing. My uncle became very famous. Oh, I can't hear you, bud.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to
There
meet
you go.
Keith in at the Warrens Paracon, and very nice, down to earth guy. And I follow their work as well with the paranormal and stuff.
Yeah, both of them are still very active today.
And like I said, I had him on my show a few times, and
Hmm.
we were talking about some of their cases, and then we talked about the Conjuring case. Were you able to investigate the Conjuring house at all? Or
Oh my gosh, I've been to the Conjuring house at least 25, 30 times. Normal Sutcliffe, who had purchased it, I had gotten to know her. I had done a TV episode of Ghost Hunters in there with Jason and Grant.
okay,
And that's actually my very first meeting with Dustin Peary. Steve was there. We had quite a bit of activity. A lot, had transpired there. And then Jen and Corey Heinzman, I was friends with them before they had purchased it. We had gone up there when they very first moved it, took it over and started doing it. And again, just been in there so many times. I've been up there several times. Andrea Perron and I are very, very good friends. We've known each other, a long time also. So
yep,
again, a lot of times she'd be up there and I'd go visit her when she'd be doing something or there'd be a couple of gigs or something going on up there. So yeah, been in there quite a few times.
yeah, because I know at Metacon you guys were harassing each other.
We, I tease poor Andrea. That I call her Audrey. She's my Audrey. So again, it's like I said, we go back to when we were teenagers, actually, and we didn't really know each other very well. But I had remembered her because I knew exactly. Anyhow, we just became friends more so over the course of years and everything, and again, just became very good friends with the entire family.
Yeah, she was a nice lady when I met her at Metacon there. Her
Yeah.
And Greta kept tormenting you with pictures of us all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, that this goes on all the time when we're at the conventions or anything. There's a few people that when they're next to me and everything, I really torment them.
You gotta,
It breaks it up. But I love it when Andrea starts finally getting aggravated with me. She starts screaming at me because all I do is start laughing more, and she gets even more mad.
we
But
have
she's my
a,
sweetheart.
we have a couple questions from you from Damian
Okay.
Smith. Uh, First one is, did any of your ancestors have abilities or maybe guide you into the field, giving you the inspiration to pursue?
It actually, if anything, the majority of the family discouraged me from getting involved with it, including Ed and Lorraine. Ed really did, again, we'd go back and forth, back and forth. And I can still remember at one point in time, I had said to him, I said, then what the hell did you used to take me for when you'd go on different? He said, well, I knew you were going to get involved with that. I said, yeah, but you're always telling me not to, you really, he goes, well, it just makes it a lot more difficult when it's family because you got to have your guard up
Yep.
twice as much. So, I understand that now. I didn't understand that back then, getting involved with it or anything. But I think what I find more ironic and more intriguing was the fact that on my father's side, the Zaffis side,
Mhm.
that were Greek. So therefore, doing some of the research and some of my other cousins that got involved with some of the different things, one of them was telling me at one point in time that we had a Greek Orthodox bishop that was in the family, and over in Greece, he used to do exorcisms. I'm like, I said, nah, this is too much. Both sides of the family were involved with this craziness. So again, I was intrigued and interested by that. I wasn't able to find out too much more in regards to a lot of it. Someday I hope to get over to Greece to find out some, more information about it that one of my other cousins had given me about it. Then and it never got talked about, but two of my cousins had told, one of my cousins was telling me at one point in time, how my grandfather, Ed's father, was part of a huge prayer group that when the priests would get involved with doing anything or involved with doing the, exorcisms or anything like that, he was a part of that. I never ever knew anything about that, never heard anything about it.
Mhm.
So one of my cousins was telling me about it, and I'm like, okay. She goes, ask one of the other cousins, my cousin Helen. So I called up my cousin Helen, and she goes, Johnny, no one ever talked. I said, no, my mother never mentioned it. My uncle never mentioned it. No one ever mentioned that he was part of a prayer group of. I said, I knew he was a very religious guy. Went to church every day. You know. And stuff of that nature. He was very, very involved with the church, but I didn't know to that extent how involved he was, because I know he used to discourage. Well, we all know him as Warren because that's his real
Yeah.
name, Warren. Would discourage Warren from being involved or getting involved with it. He really didn't want my uncle doing it, but my uncle pursued it and pushed forward.
And then Damien asked, do you think different countries have different levels of spirit activity, and do you believe manifestation is a cultural collective bringing them into existence?
It can be. I again look at a lot of things from an energy perspective, and when spirit does manifest. You could deal with people that aren't really religious people whatsoever, and they still can have that collective energy causing issues that could bring things in, whether on, a dark side or a light side as far as energy goes. But you will find that people that are, extremely, extremely religious people are going to have a lot more paranormal activity, again, and a lot of people believe that, people that are religious, that their faith in their belief system is what causes some of the paranormal activity. Now, do I necessarily believe that? No, because I've dealt with people that aren't even religious whatsoever, and they still have, things that are occurring and happening. So again, that's where we have to take a look at things and take that step back and just realize that we're dealing with energy. Energy can never be destroyed. But what we deal with as an intelligence, thus taking advantage of a person that might be extremely religious, absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. Damien also asked, which location was your most challenging that you found so far?
I don't think I've had it yet. I look at all of the different perspectives of things as far as hauntings go, whether it's a human spirit haunting or something on a demonic level, evil level. Again, a lot of the situations with dealing with people that are truly possessed, which is far and few in between, there's been a lot. I've witnessed a lot of different things I've seen, but and a lot of different types of manifestation, whether human spirit or something, on a evil level or a demonic level. I
Mhm.
say evil and demonic because it's two separate things to me. I believe human spirit can also be evil, and
Yep.
if a person was very evil when they were alive, they're going to be like that, in spirit form. So therefore, I would call that more evil than I would call demonic.
Mhm. Greg asked, on your show, Haunted Collector, what are your favorite top two pieces you have in your collection?
Actually, one of them was from, and I do not have it. It was an item from Jordan Springs. I believe it was West Virginia. And it was a very famous piece of property. It's a big venue now. I got to be very, very good friends with the owners of it. And it was 1,000 acres, and it had springs on it. It was very well known. She turned it into, she actually saved the property from it being destroyed. and turned it into an event center and everything. Well, they had a hill on the side there, and it was believed that it was the Devil's Hill, and the Native American had named it that, or Satan's Ridge or something. I can't quite. Anyways, we had found a couple of totem things that were put into place because I do believe that they were trying to curse her because she had bought the property and was trying to save it. And to me, that was one of the most intriguing tying in type cases, where we had a lot of activity and things occur that an item didn't actually got removed. We had called in a shaman, and the shaman had done a huge ritual and everything to help break what was happening and what was occurring there. The other one, um, again, that turned out to be an amazing type case was Joplin, Missouri. We had going shortly after that big tornado came through and destroyed everything. We ended up working with the family in one of our episodes where three generations got involved with it, and we had found out it wasn't necessarily one particular item. There was a mirror that was causing problems, but we found out that again there was something attached to it. But I felt that a lot of it was being caused because the family never actually talked about it. A lot of times, that's not an unusual thing, and within families, people just don't talk to each other about different things that occur and happen. Well, at the end of it, he had brought it up and said that he felt very guilty and thought some of the haunting was being caused by this gentleman that was impaled and he ended up dying. He kept telling the gentleman, not to worry, he was there, he was going to, help him through, he was going to make it, he was going to make it. And the gentleman ended up passing away and he felt he let him down. And it was a very touching type thing because at that point I turned and looked at him. I said, "You really didn't let him down." He goes, "What do you mean, John?" I go, "He didn't die by himself. You were there with him. So again, you still did something helping him out." And he goes, "John, I never looked at it that way." But the bizarre thing was I felt that something attached with me when we had left because we went to the next one. We were setting up to do a meeting. I got violently ill and I just kept, vomiting, and I ended up in the hospital. And again, I felt that it tied in somehow with that whole investigation. And it was just something that those are probably my two most outstanding type cases where there was a lot that got affected, with us behind the scenes when doing the filming of them.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I don't usually talk about a lot of that stuff. So again, it's always a good opportunity to share the things that you normally don't talk about with that. Again, on the flip end of it now, I keep hearing, are you ever going to do another TV show? Will I do another one? Probably. I'd like to do one more before I get out of here and I turn into a ghost. So, I'll end up doing something, hopefully in the short, near future, and get one more show knocked out there. To be fun to do something again.
Yeah, I hope you do. I mean, I enjoyed watching The Haunted Collector. I never missed an episode of it.
It was a fun show. Again, and the reason I say it was fun was because it was different. And you got to venture into doing different things and getting into the history and talking to different people and everything. Nobody else had done that up to that point in time because that was the biggest thing with me. Everybody else was doing regular ghost hunting shows, and I wanted to do something different,
Right.
but I was already prepared. I knew it was going to be very controversial, and it was for the time. And, got accused of stealing people's things and all this other stuff. Now everybody and their brother collects haunted items, and it's
Yep.
a big thing. Everybody's got look at Zach Bagans. He's got one of the most successful paranormal museums going.
Damien asked, "Can you change a spirit's attitude if it doesn't want to cross over? Good spirits go bad, doesn't like you remodeling houses, etc., or dark to calm and quiet, etc."
Um, if I'm understanding it correctly, is asking if you can calm the spirit that is there. Is
Yeah, if change the spirit's attitude if it doesn't want to cross over, if it doesn't want to leave the house.
um Well, I'd say yes and no. I've had circumstances where, because I do work with psychics and mediums, I have no problem with that. Unless they're crazy and they're flipping out, then I don't want to deal with that. But bringing them in to work and to communicate with the spirit, because sometimes there's types of circumstances that I believe that spirit crosses over when it wants to cross over. Human spirit's one of the most difficult things to get to cross over. So a lot of times with the communication going back and forth can help, a homeowner to get things to calm down as far as the spirit there. And there's other circumstances that can rile it up and, intensify activity. Remodeling is one of the key sources for something getting stirred up or activity kicking in. And I think it's just because things that are just being moved or touched, or it changes the familiarity that the spirit has to the location. So I believe that from both ends it could happen. We can go in and help, sometimes, and they can coexist, you know, or we could try to, get it to cross over. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Again, the running joke with all this is, and I say to this day, I'm very big on Gettysburg. That's one of my most favorite places in the world to go to. And so many times over the past up 10 years, people will tell me, I'm going down there and going to cross all the soldiers over. Well, they're all still there. How come they didn't leave? You know? So again, when spirit's ready to cross over, it will cross over. If they're not, they're going to stay right where they are.
right? Yeah, we were just at Gettysburg in September and checked out the battlefields and investigated
Hmm.
the orphanage
Yeah,
and
orphanage is cool. Yeah.
the bloody field down there. I actually caught a figure on camera out there in broad daylight.
Hmm.
My viewers, Carol Garcia, that's watching, she spotted it in the video. It was like a Asian guy dressed in armor,
Mm.
and back then they had some Asians that fought in the Civil War.
Hmm.
So we're thinking it's possibly one of them. But even in the live video, I was walking Devil's Den, and I was listening back to the audio in that video, and you can hear boots marching with me,
Yeah.
and then you can hear horses' hooves galloping, and I'm walking
Yeah.
through dirt.
Yep. One of the craziest stories, and to this day I've never had it duplicated or had anybody. Anyways, we were down there, and I was with another paranormal group from upstate New York, and the young lady that ran it, her name was Stacy Jones. Well, she was a police officer, very tough, rough, you know, didn't really believe much in the paranormal, period. So we're at Sachs Bridge, and there was always the stories about this crazy fog that rolls in. Well, the fog had rolled in. We were about 20 of us that were there on the bridge, and across in the field there, you seen like gunshots come off, oranges. You heard horses and all this crazy stuff. She turns around and pushes me. She goes, "You set that up, didn't you?" I had nothing to do with it. Not, the fog rolled back out. There was nothing there to this day. I mean, it's 20 some odd years later. She'll still every once in a while bring that up. She goes, "I still can't figure that out." She said, to this day, I said it was paranormal, it was supernatural. It was a battle that was taking place right across from the bridge.
Well, I know, when we were there, we were up on Little Round Top, and
Uh huh.
we heard what sounded like a cannon go off, and then
Yeah.
over the trees just past Devil's Den, we seen smoke roll up over the trees.
Mm-hmm.
So we flagged down a ranger and asked them, "Are they doing any reenactments?" No, they're not allowed to do reenactments on the battlefield. He says, "So you heard that cannon too, didn't you?" I was like, "Yeah, we heard it. We seen
Yeah.
smoke roll up over the trees."
Yep. Yeah. I was fortunate this past summer when I was down there at the Gettysburg Bash. Uh, Again, friends of mine had rented one of the houses that were right there on the battlefield that they recently had opened up. And several of them, were staying there, and I just went over for a few hours. But the feeling out there compared to, because it's totally surrounded by it. There was nothing else but the battlefields. You could look up and see, everything. So it was pretty cool just to stand out there because you swear, you don't know if it's psychological or not, but it was like, Almost felt like there were people around, the different things were occurring and happening. It was kind of a creepy sense, a creepy feel there. Yeah,
Yeah, especially Devil's Den. I hiked the whole thing, went down through the bottom down there, and I was by myself, and it felt like people were just marching along with me all the way. And then the woods got really eerie, and come to find out, that's where they had the tracks
yeah,
run the soldiers back and forth
yep,
back through there. And
yeah.
it was interesting, a lot of fun too. I enjoyed it, especially my cousin was killed there, John Franklin Reynolds, the general that was killed at Reynolds Woods.
Cool. All right.
We didn't get a chance to make it out there, but we're planning on going back to Gettysburg.
Well, you should come back out in the summertime when they do the Gettysburg Bash. That's
Yeah,
a lot.
definitely.
That's a lot of fun. Last year was my first time doing it, and I enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend it.
All right, yeah, definitely. Damien had another question. Most spirit clothes are devoid of color cause it a case of absorb and reflect light that defines color. So spirit can't manifest color, so it's clear in most cases.
Okay, you're telling me something I didn't know, but that would make the most sense, wouldn't it? If you stop to think about that,
Yeah.
because how often, do we see anything in multiple color? It's usually gray, black, white. Occasionally you'll hear about a blue lady floating in the cemeteries. I've heard of a couple of red figured type things that would go through, but the majority of the time, yeah, devoid of color. So that would make logical sense. Yeah, absolutely.
Damien's from Scotland.
Ah, okay. Great place to go check out things. I love it over there. Years and years ago, I used to go over with Ed and Lorraine. We'd spend a couple of weeks over there, and just totally different the way they view and the way they accept the supernatural and the paranormal over there. If you don't have a ghost in your house, there's something wrong with you over there. They accept it. There's nothing, the majority of the time they just look at it and accept the fact of it in comparison to the way most people would handle it here.
Yeah, I would like to go over there and check out Castle out there in Ireland, and I know there's that elemental that ran through Dustin Perry.
Yes. Yeah.
Guess
That actually changed him a little there.
I
That
guess
that
they
shook him
say
up.
he smells like burning rubber or something like that.
Yeah, I remember when all that went down because that's what, if my memory's serving me right from Dustin telling me about that, that's what opened his eyes up to take a look at this from another, perspective altogether.
Mhm.
Yep.
So does your kid still do the paranormal stuff with you? Like
Not
this
really,
stuff?
but again, like everybody else, they got to go back in, do their 9 to 5 job so they can get their insurances and be able to pay their bills. So again, they beep up around a little bit with it, but they got their full time jobs and things of that. So
Yeah, because I
yeah,
know your son was big into it when he was on the show with you, your son and daughter both.
yeah. Well, Amy likes to poke around with the history of stuff. She still does that. Every once in a while she'll look at something and she'll start scrolling on her phone and then she'll start telling me something about it. So she still does that. So, but Chris, he an interest in the paranormal. That's still there, but he does not like getting involved with the stuff on the darker end. He doesn't want no part of that. As
Yeah.
soon as anything comes up about that or anything, he'll tell you, "I don't want no part of that's my father's thing." So and he'll go, "I just don't." What actually had done him in at one point in time was that it was just a weird thing that was happening. I had a priest and a psychic that were here. Got a telephone call from a truck driver. A friend of his, he kept claiming was under possession, and I'm like, now this is going back a few years, and he says, I'm right down the street. Can I stop? You're friends with my cousin, but I was like, well, all right. So they stopped over. So I said to Larry, um, I said, why don't you, do a few prayers over him, and he went to go do that, and the guy went under full possession and tore one of my rooms up, and my son was standing out on the deck watching the whole thing.
Oh,
That
wow.
that was the craziest thing. He just stood there and looked at me, and he goes, "I always hear you talking about and see the videos." He goes, "It's the first time I've ever seen it." And I looked at my son, and I go, "Yeah, I wasn't too happy that that just took place." I said, "I just got a lot of things broken in that room." So that was good. It was out in the barn, not in the house, but wasn't expecting that at all. I said,
Mm.
after that, I said, "Any prayers or anything, go do them out in the backyard. You're not doing them in the building no more." Crazy.
Rebecca had a question for you. She says, "Hi, John. I met you at the Paracon in Anasona Armory with my other investigator.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm a fan of your Haunted Collector and the shows I've seen you on. Are you still doing tours of the museum? Are you open to investigations there?"
I do not have the museum open. Uh, I I had it open for a little while. I was doing small tours in here. There's been a couple of groups that have come in over the years, investigating in here, but done very lightly. Again, it's more of like my personal collection than it is anything else. Um, actually tomorrow. So yeah, Sunday. Now there's people up in Massachusetts, very good friends of mine. That's a paranormal group. They went up to go see Brian Cano and Steve Gonzalez. They're doing a gig about an hour and a half north of here, and they were from upstate New York. So, anyways, they're stopping by tomorrow just to walk through and check out the museum. But to do a full investigation, I don't know that I would really want that done here at this point in time. I mean, if we ever get it relocated to a piece of property where there's more room and, it could be a little bit more, you know,
Right.
I would consider it. I wouldn't be against it. I mean, a lot of times when my paranormal group went down there and they would do different things, I was amazed at some of the stuff they would capture. It was totally unbelievable. I've had a few college paranormal groups, that have come over and spent a couple of hours down in the museum. So, but again, it's just a publicly open. No, I don't have anything like that because I'm in a residential area. So again, I got to be a little bit more guarded, a little bit more careful. But the day ever comes where I do get this moved into a commercial piece of property, I can see the line already lined up for people
Oh,
wanting to get in.
yeah. Well, yeah, that's like your aunt and uncle's museum too with the zoning issues. You get
Yeah,
people want to shoot their mouths off and turn you in to the zoning commission, and then they shut you down.
no. Again, that kind of a odd situation. People were getting upset because the street was getting blocked, their driveways were getting blocked, and again they were getting upset over it. So just got to the point where they had to shut it down. When Ed was around, it was running perfectly fine. There was never any big issues or anything. So
Right. Yeah, I was actually just watching some of Ed's old videos when he was on TV, him and Lorraine
yeah,
on
yeah,
YouTube today.
yeah. No.
Did you put out any more books out since I've last seen you?
Uh no, but we got three going. Actually, we just wrapped up on Debbie and Larry Elward. We've been doing quite a bit because the three of us want to make sure our stories are documented. And actually, this past week, she just wrapped up on one of the books. It's gonna be a trilogy of three major cases that we worked on. So I'm excited about that. Then we got two other books behind that she's working on. So that one I'm kind of hoping, but we'll wait to see what happens. Kind of hoping it'll be all put together and be released this December. That's what I'm hoping for.
I know I read the Haunted Collector one that you gave me at Metacon. That's a very interesting book.
I don't know. I'm trying to remember which one I gave. Which one did I give you?
It was the Haunted Collector one. It's got you. You're on the front cover in a suit.
Oh, Demon Haunted.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, that's Demon
Yep.
Haunted. Yep, that was with Rosemary Ellen Guiley. Yep.
That one's a yeah.
Yeah,
That was a good book. I
yeah,
enjoyed that.
yeah. She did a good job on that. That was another one where again, she wanted me getting several of my cases documented, and we were fortunate enough. I was fortunate enough to be able to do 2 books with her before she ended up passing away, so I was happy for
And I'm
that.
in the process of writing a book also.
Get it out there. It's always good to, have that stuff out there, have it documented, and you at least know some of the stories will carry on after you're gone. Because
Yeah,
unfortunately, I picked up my uncle's traits. I'll go out and investigate something, and do this, and I'll go, oh shoot, I didn't take pictures. Oh shoot, I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I, because I'm at that point where I just like, okay, if I was able to help them, fine. That's all I care about. You know what I mean?
right,
And, another EVP, another photograph. A lot of times I just don't. I don't think about it, and it's too late after the fact that you don't
right.
document things, and you know being an investigator, that's one of the worst things you could do. It really is, because again, I sit back and I remember yelling at my uncle about it. I go, you didn't document anything. You didn't. Who cares? And it's funny how many cases have come back up over the years with people.
Right.
They'll walk up to me and start talking to me. I remember back when you were with Ed and Lorraine and this researcher and that researcher, and I have to stand there and I go, I don't even remember. you know, again, yeah, that's the importance that you should always document something. So
Yep, definitely.
I should practice what I preach, right?
Yeah, I follow Ed. Ed's probably looking down now and probably going, "Damn it, John."
Oh yeah, probably. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all.
Damien had another question. Do you think ley lines play a part in spirit energy, either fuel for them or allows them to travel as portal lines?
I don't know if I'd necessarily would call it a portal line, but I'm quite intrigued by that with the lines. Again, I think there's a lot of these different areas where there's a lot of activity. Here again, is it just how different things are lined up with those ley lines? I don't know. A lot of people have been studying it over the course of years. I'm very fascinated with it. Again, um, another thing that I always find intriguing and very essential for people to realize that, back during Native American times and, these different locations that they have that were spiritual locations, there's reasons for that. There would be a lot of activity or energy that would be associated with some of these locations where, they would do their different rituals and their different practices. So therefore, a lot of those areas are going to be very drawn with energy. And I don't know if you know this or not, but most cathedrals are built on different locations where they were spiritual areas with different religions. Most people don't even know that. So again, it's amazing how those things all tie in. Again, but yes, do I think that ley lines play an important role with energy affecting things? Absolutely, I absolutely do believe that.
And then Carol Garcia had a question. John, have you investigated the mine in Sussex, New Jersey? If so, how was the investigation?
I believe I just did that recently with John. I believe that's the one she's referring to. See, isn't that terrible? I do freaking events. I couldn't tell you the name of the town, but I believe that's where it was. And if it's the one that was recently in with John Ruggiero and Chris and his team, very active. A lot of things were occurring. I was amazed at the amount of different tunnels that were okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Where there was a lot that took place is down where the lake was. There's an area where you walk down, and it backfilled, I guess, from over the years. And very, very creepy right in that area. Because I remember walking through with John, and I would just go, there's a lot of energy and a lot here. He goes, well, John, there's rumored that there's a lot of bodies down in that area. So again, uh, there's going to be a lot that goes on within that one particular area there. Very cool to check out. I enjoyed it very much. I also enjoyed the museum that they have on the property with all the different minerals from all over the world. Because I believe very strongly in that
Mm.
these different rocks and things are going to hold on to energy. There's no doubt in my mind about all that. So there was a lot going on in that particular museum room also. So, but that was a cool place. I hope sometime next year I'll do a couple more events there with John, and come on out.
April Mueller asked, "Hello, I'm late, but why do you think limestone holds more energy?"
I don't necessarily think that it's just limestone. I think it's just about any type of deposit, whether it's limestone or something else that can hold on to energy, because we're dealing with minerals, and minerals, have a high concentration, just like with quartz. Look at
Yep.
all the different things that quartz is used in. That because of the factor of conducting the energy and everything. But it seems that a lot of concentrated areas are on limestone per se. So therefore, again, I think that gets the most recognition out of anything. That there's a lot of energy that takes place over that.
And Carol says, "I've been in some of these mines that don't get locked up in Sussex."
Uh, I don't know. Okay, what does she mean? Get locked up in?
I guess some of the mines they forget to lock them up, so she's been in a lot of them checking them out, but they don't lock the doors and stuff.
Oh, I don't know. I don't. Here again, I can't say anything because I'm bad like that myself. Over the course of years, I've gotten kicked out of a lot of places I haven't that they're not supposed to be in. So that's not an unusual. Today, I can get away with it a little bit more easier because I just go, oh, I got confused because I'm old. I didn't remember where I was going.
Right.
So a lot of times I could get away with it easier today.
What would be your most worst exorcism case without tying into the confidentiality of it? I know some of the stuff
Well, it's a
that's
case
still
that I worked on.
confidential.
Yeah, you know, it's a case I was involved with for 4 years. And it took 16 exorcisms to free the woman. Her name was Pat. She's a little tiny thing, 80 pounds soaking wet. And all the exorcisms were different. Some were done by traditional priests. We had Native American, we had Roman Catholic priests involved with that. There wasn't anything I that didn't transpire within that case. And the very last exorcism, the 16th one, freed her. And it was a bizarre one because it just came out with a, a particular name. And once it got said and repeated back and everything, it was like everything broke. Well, after that, I just kept digging in and digging in because the name just didn't associate with anything. It just didn't make any sense whatsoever. But then after finding out and going back, I was able to tie it in with a actual deity. Thus, we know, from jinn and deities, they when Christianity and organized religions came about, they turned them into devils and demons and reassigned them. So therefore, a lot of times you got to be careful when doing these things because it could tie into something else that isn't necessarily a devil or a demon.
Mhm.
But that, to this day, has probably been one of the most significant cases that that just blew my mind because the amount of intensity and the different things that would occur and the different things that would happen.
I was watching one video of Frenchie that Ed and Lorraine had worked on. Were
Yeah,
you involved in that case as well?
I've actually three different times. Now, with the original case, no. Four, not even before times. I had gotten involved with the house at one point years back. Then I got involved with one of the daughters that was having major problems. Then I got involved with another relative that was having problems. Then I had gone to two of Frenchie's exorcisms at the church with Bishop McKenna. They were
Mhm.
very low key. There was only several of us there. not really much happened whatsoever. So, yeah, I was definitely involved with that case, but not, with the original case, just like with Amityville or,
Right,
several of the other cases. The after effects, I would get involved with.
right. I know they said his eyes were, like, hearing blood and
Yeah.
getting scratched into his stomach and
Yeah, again, too, with that type of case, that was kind of a horrendous type case here again, too. Frenchie's mother and father, his father ended up shooting the mother and killing himself. And it was funny how he, tried to kill his wife, then he actually killed himself.
mm,
So again, it's funny how sometimes these things can repeat in history, with these types of cases. There's again a lot with that case that I think was very dark. A lot with it. It's another one of those cases where people started shredding it, that he
mm,
was making stuff up and these different things. But you know, when we work these cases, we're involved with them, whether it's in the beginning stages or you're, doing something else that is helping that family in the afterwards. And you witness and experience some of these things. That is the most important part, as far as I'm concerned, because now no one can turn around and tell me Maury's stereo case didn't happen or
right.
that there was nothing supernatural about it. What I got to say to that is screw you. I was part of it. I saw it. I know what went on. Might have been the after part of not the heavy duty end of it, but things did occur and things did happen.
Sarah, Flame of Love asks, "John, been wanting to meet you someday in person to attend a lecture or workshops. Are you planning to do it next year?"
Oh, absolutely. Again, I laugh because I had mentioned over this past year that I, was cutting back. I was cutting back on things I was doing. Yeah, because my wife is retired now too, and again, after all these years, we spend more time together now than we did in the past 40 years that, or 43 years that we actually been together. But I'm still out there doing my investigations. I'm still lecturing. I don't think I'll ever stop. I'll go right up to, the running joke with me is they'll find me dead in a hotel room somewhere. That's what's going to end up happening. So again, no, I would never stop doing it. I enjoy lecturing. I enjoy doing things with people. It's one of my most favorite things to do. My biggest thing that I enjoy the most is going to universities and colleges. Why? Dealing with the kids, getting involved with the kids.
Mhm.
Because I jump right in. I don't. I get right in with them, and we go back and forth and everything. I have a blast with doing all that stuff. So I enjoy it. So as long as I can still do it, I'm still going to do it.
There you go. April Mueller asks, "Ever come across a case that involved lightning strikes?"
Yes. Uh, it, wow. I don't think I've ever talked about that one. It was a house. It was a historical house. It was down in Philadelphia. It had something to do with a sea captain. Oh my gosh. I can't, I should remember all this and I can't. Anyways, it was his mistress's house. It was really haunted. There was all kinds of crazy things that were going down. The historical society had taken it over. They were trying to renovate it. We got called in to do an investigation in there. And during the course of it, a couple of different things got asked. And we had a couple of lightning strikes that had hit that night. Well, shortly right after that, two of the people from the historical society had told me that all the activity stopped after we were there. And I go, yeah, that was because the freaking lightning almost killed us and killed whatever else was in there. Me with my humor.
Yep.
But again, yes, that was one particular time I don't think I'll ever forget. But that's terrible. I can't remember the name of was it Blackbeard or something? Oh my gosh, that's gonna drive me nuts now because I can't remember it. uh,
Hopefully you got it in a case file or something.
Probably not. I'll have to call and ask one of my buddies that was there with me because that's what I do a lot of times. I'll go, "Hey, you remember when we went to here?" And they go, "John, how could you not remember this stuff?" I go, it's just again, like I said, I just I don't know, it just goes right out of my mind a lot of times. I just don't usually keep it. That's like when I'm done working on a case, or if I do go to a clearing or a deliverance or an exorcism or anything like that, day or two later, I put it out of my mind. I just don't dwell on stuff.
Right.
My wife tells me it's a guy thing. We can block everything, so I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with her because I do block some things out.
Yeah.
Before I forget, my dad wanted me to tell you hi. Your cuz one,
Tell cuz one I said hey back.
he's watching. So, and I also got a message for you from Jenny from Missouri State Penitentiary. They want you back here at the penitentiary.
Oh, that's my warden. That's the warden, you know.
Oh
I
yeah.
call I call her the warden. Fantastic person, fantastic.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah,
love.
actually, yes, I'd love to get back there. There's a mutual acquaintance of ours that is looking into possibility of trying to pull together and do a small convention there. So
Oh,
hopefully
nice.
that'll happen.
Yeah, definitely. I love Missouri State. I've been there twice.
Yeah, cool place.
And got a lot of good activity. I walked out with a bruise on the inside of my arm. It looked like someone had taken a cigarette and went like that on my arm.
Well, one of my friends that's a very gifted psychic person was down in the chamber, the
The gas chamber.
the guy's chamber down below, down back, and that messed her up pretty bad because she just said that things were just affecting her with the different energy and stuff like that. So again, the name is Jenny Stewart, and she was there. Actually, that was one of the last gigs we had done out there. But anyways, I still remember that. She still talks about that to this day. That when she was down there, she was getting more things from a psychic level that she ever
Mhm.
received anywhere else, and she felt that it had to do with that.
Yeah, we were down in the dungeon down there, and we were doing Estes down there. We decided not
Yeah.
to do the spirit box, just use our third eye. And I was sitting there, and I ended up tapping into the firebug, and I got fire, burnt to prison, was housed down there for 18 years, went blind,
Wow.
and apparently that got around the prison that because not many people can actually tap into the firebug. He's not very vocal down there.
Hmm. Interesting.
The first time we were there, we I captured a woman on camera yelling hello down the hallway down
Yeah.
in the dungeon.
Yeah.
So I asked, well, if you met Diana when you were out there, the other overnight tour guide that does the paranormal tours, I asked her about it, and she says you're not the first one to report that. That women, you hear a woman down there, but they never housed any women down in the dungeon down there.
Yeah. As far as I remember, but I could be wrong on that too, is that that's where they just kept the worst of the worst.
Linda Scott said my great uncle spent 23 years in the prison and died there. I believe he spoke through my ink box.
Cool. Cool.
We were,
That's something I find interesting. That's a good topic right there. A lot of times when we do these conventions or anything, and descendants come in that either had, you know, a relative that was there or a relative that worked at these prisons, and they come through and they start communicating. To me, I think that's one of the most awesome things that, you know, they again, you can't ask for more than getting something like that type of a connection that reaffirms that there's something that's definitely going on and happening in that spirit realm.
especially with using like KD's ink boxes, KD Stafford. He's got that reverse sweep. We use that in the prison, and we got the name Amy come across there. Well, come to find out, Amy's crypt that's on YouTube, she was coming out there 2 weeks after we were there. So they were calling for her in death row.
Uh, hmm,
So for it to come through on a reverse sweep, that was interesting because you shouldn't be having anything coming through there in a clear
yeah,
set. And
interesting.
even the first time we were there, we went to dinner with this other team before we went to the investigation. My dad told the girl, "You're gonna get touched tonight." We were up in cell house 4, and she had seen a shadow darting in and out of the catwalks in and out of cells. So I
Mhm.
went up there and I started pacing the catwalk like a guard, got right behind him up above him, and she goes, "Damn it, something just grabbed my leg."
Yeah.
And I said to her, I said, "Don't be offensive. You're a woman in a cell house that these men have not seen women in years. So to them, you're good looking. You're bait to them." So
You know, again, that's the way we all look at that as far as being paranormal investigators. You go into that type of environment, and you're bringing the women in there.
mhm.
That usually will trigger and ramp up the activity that's going on in there. So again, that tells you that there's something that connects as far as all of us being in those places. So.
And we were at a Get Haunted event out there that they had over the summer, and we were up in the female ward up there, and
Hmm.
they had a burst EVP going and then necrophonic, and they were both coinciding. We were communicating with a lady up there that she was having an affair with a guard, and she threw herself over the balcony.
Hmm.
And after that, the lady did not feel good after that. We ended up having to do a cleansing on her.
Mm.
And then we had another lady come down. She had what they call POTS disease, and they thought she was going in the shock. They were going to call the ambulance. So my dad put some holy water on his hands, did some prayers with her, gave her a cleansing medallion, and she snapped right out of it and was fine for the rest of the night.
Oh, that's good.
And Nesper was also out there for that event too. It was the Devil on the Run tour, so we went out
Hmm.
and they had some of the objects out there. So she was overcame by a lot of that stuff too, with all that energy poking around. And then you got all that negative energy from the violence that
Hmm.
happened in prison.
Yeah, that's a perfect storm with all that energy. Yep.
Oh yeah, and we kept watching up in cell house 4 up on the top balcony. There was somebody kept walking up there. You could see him,
Hmm.
and he was aggravated. His cell was cell 20. Well, that's where they had stored all the stuff, and he wasn't happy about it. So he went down to the dungeon to get away from all the activity and all that stuff. So we ended up picking up him down there. Linda Scott also said, I asked what his brother, my grandfather's nickname was, and immediately it said Skip, which is what everyone called my grandpa.
Oh, that's perfect verification right there. Best thing that you can have is if you can get the nicknames for anything, for people or anything like that, you
Yep.
can't ask for any from better type of verification.
Damien asked, would a pregnant female have some level of activity as anyone else or be more of a trigger?
Actually, I would say both. Um, Again, I do not feel it's a good environment for if you get going into these types of places and a woman is pregnant. I'm very very uncomfortable with that type of environment. It just could
Yep.
put the mom in danger, and I. But that's me. That's the
No,
world's different.
I'm the
The
same way. I don't allow pregnant women on any investigations with us because of that fact. She's
I
pregnant.
mean, the other thing too is I'd be a nervous wreck. They fall or something
Yep.
might happen, and I just look at things weird like that too. And I'm very guarded when it comes into children being around with a lot of the stuff too. I'm not a big advocate of children getting involved with some of this stuff to the degree that people let them get involved with today. Nothing wrong with them learning, nothing wrong with educating them on some of this stuff, but again, uh, at a young age like that, they're very impressionable, and you got to be very guarded and very careful.
Especially if you're going into these places you know nothing about. You don't know what's there. You could be walking into a perfect hotbed of demonic activity also,
Mm, yeah,
and that first
yeah,
person that's gonna go after is your kid.
yeah,
They're weak,
yeah.
and That's why I tell everybody that all the time, especially these ones that like the urban explorer. You're going into these haunted, abandoned places by yourself without a buddy system. What happens if something happens to you? Nobody's going to find you.
Well, again, that's the nature of a lot of these different types of things and what people do. It's not good to actually do anything, by yourself. You should always have somebody with you because you never know.
Yep.
Never know what's going to happen. And the other thing too, like I always say too, with most people, I fear the living more than I do the dead. So,
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I do too. April Mueller said, "Personal question, if okay, what do you feel about your own eternal soul?
in individuals or mine?
About yours, your
Mine. Um. Well, I hope everything will be okay. Um, I try to do the right things usually. I mean, again, I look at things from the perspective, as far as the soul and the spirit goes. Mine particularly, I hope everything will be okay. That when that time comes, whether it's up on the fluffy cloud or heaven or whatever it is, hopefully I'll cross over and not end up in the brimstone.
your flame of love?" Asked John, "Are you planning to teach a Catholic demonology lectures and workshops someday? God bless you."
um, today it's again, uh, people are viewing and looking at things a lot differently from how I've been brought into the work and how I was trained and brought into it. Um, I wouldn't have a problem getting into the basics of a workshop on, talking about what happens with demonology and the structuring of some of the belief systems and how it happens. Would I go very deep into it? No. Again, with our craft, and I don't care what anybody says, it's our craft.
Yep.
That stuff has always been very guarded on how we do a lot of things. It's always been very guarded how we handle a lot of things. And I stick by that. And I'm not going to change because I've seen over the course of years where people have gotten involved with this and they took that information and took it and used it in reverse, thus defeating what, you know, we're trying to accomplish with trying to help. So again, I'm guarded with a lot of things. There's been several people over the course of the years that, I've helped get going in the demonology end of this, but it's just like anything else. A lot of it, once you have your basics, then you have to decide whether it's something you are going to move forward with and get really involved with because it's just not for everybody. And there's a lot of people out there that are involved with it today that should not be.
Right. And that's like me. I study with, Sister Farrah Rose Deal.
Oh, yeah.
I
Many,
study,
many years I've known her.
I study with her. She's my
Yeah.
mentor for it, and I work with her a lot, constantly picking her brain on it.
Good. That's a good source.
Oh yeah, I just talked to her not too long ago. She disappeared for a little while. She wasn't on Facebook, nothing. Nobody could get a hold of her. Father Bob Bailey called her and started yelling at her like, "Where you been? Everybody's worried about you." She's been, she's writing another book, so she's
Ah,
busy
okay.
with that.
Cool.
Damien asked, "Would you stay or pass over?"
Pass over. I have no interest in haunting. Yeah, that was always the running joke with me. I tease people and tell them if anybody's going to make a good ghost, it's going to be me because I know all the tricks.
Yep.
But I I don't think I really have an interest in staying earthbound. I really don't. I mean, again, being involved with it for so many years and knowing and understanding that once you leave the physical body, again, we don't always have a clear cut understanding. We have our teachings, we have our belief systems, but again, uh, as you study a lot of this and the more you dig into different things and cultures and practices and reincarnation and all these other different things, that leaves a lot in your mind to think about that, if these things could occur, do these things happen? So again, I don't really see where I'd have an interest in staying earthbound.
April had a question. She's coming out with some good questions. There are instances of spirits attached to objects. Do you know how to bind a spirit to an object? And do you think that has happened before, perhaps as protection or control?
Well, that's a very common practice, especially for any of us that remove items or items are going to stay in a location. There is a set way I have of doing things when binding energy to an item. So therefore, again, it can be done. Can it be broken? Yeah, people do these things. I mean, occult items. You have to remember, occult items are done with intent and purpose. Energy is attached to them. So that's going to be viewed and looked at totally differently compared to dealing with a haunted doll or, you know, a haunted toy or something.
Mhm.
So again, depends on the circumstances and the way you're looking at it on how it's handled. Because people ask me all the time, and I go, "Yeah, I have a certain way that I do it, certain way I go about it." I have a lot of clergy friends that they do their way of doing it and the way they handle it. So again, there's multiple ways that bindings and clearings can be done with an item. So again, that's common, very common practice.
If you were to do another show, what would it be about? Would it be like another Haunted Collector series or
I don't know exactly what I would do it on, and again, I have a couple of different things in my mind that I'd be interested in. Am I going to talk about it? No, because somebody watching will turn around, take it, and pitch it and do
right,
it. So
right.
I'm not mentioning
I don't blame you there.
you gotta remember, I'm used to Hollywood. I know how it works.
You're right. Carol
Uh,
asked, "What are your thoughts on bringing items that have attachments to locations for people to view?"
I'm a little bit more relaxed. Okay, there was a good 15 years back. I had a whole thing that I did with like 30 objects, and I took them out. They were inside, cases and display things. And again, I stopped doing it because I had one of the items. Somebody stole one of the items, so I stopped doing it. So again, today I look at it a little bit more lightly with it. And the items that I do take are going to be items that are a lot more lighter. I'm not going to bring anything that's heavy duty out with me and have an issue with it because I'm no that defeats what I'm about, defeats about what's going on. So again, I know people that have their collections and they bring a lot of different things out. That's on them. Kumbaya, do what you want. What I do is the way I handle it and the way I look at it. Will I bring some items out? Yeah, I have. Again, bring 4 or 5 different items out to different things, and just out of curiosity's sake to see what people pick up on them, and
Mhm.
what they could come up with and stuff like that, and use some of the equipment there. I'm perfectly fine with stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm not much of a collector. I get them and I send them to you guys. I
I
got
got quite a few investigators who are like that. They go, "I don't want any part of it. Here, take it."
which you got that mask that I gave you that we got out of the
Yeah,
box, and that actually cleared up after that mask left out of there.
it's amazing how sometimes it does occur and it does happen. Because people often say to me, "Well, how do you know?" I go, "Well, the activity stopped." And again, if a person calls me back and says, "Well, the activity didn't stop," then I know it wasn't that item, and ask them if they want their item back. I mean, that's just the nature of it. It could happen, and you know, it's happened a few times. So Not an unusual.
Yeah, with her house, with that mask being in there, someone actually called the cops and the fire department because they thought her house was on fire. There was a cloud that looked like smoke coming out of her house,
Wow.
and they come there and the house was never on fire. So she got
Mm,
moving stuff in the office, and she found it between the safe and the wall, that mask.
I remember you telling me that. Yeah. Yeah.
And he still owns the haunted movie theater. That's still a pretty active place. We
Cool.
got we gotta get you out here and get you in there with us.
One of these days, buddies. One of these days.
I love that place.
Yeah.
And somebody else had April again. Do you believe curses are real and that you can actually curse someone?
Do I believe that curses are real? Absolutely. Can individuals do incantations that could curse individuals? Absolutely. That I always tell people be very careful what you say and be very careful what you start doing because these things can and do work. So, again, it's things you have to be guarded with. So, cursing has been around since the beginning of time. So, it's not anything unusual that, generational cursing is a very common thing. And sometimes if you're able to figure it out, you're able to get it broken so that the person can move forward.
Daryl says, I like how Chris has John leave his items with attachments in his car.
There's a running joke about this. When I'm out on the road, especially doing the lecture circuit in the fall, my car ends up loaded with especially my trunk with stuff. So I was lecturing at a campus one year, and I had to go pick Dustin up because Dustin was doing a joint lecture with me. And I said, "Well, throw your suitcase in the trunk." I opened up the trunk, and I had dolls, Ouija boards, and everything else in the trunk. Dustin jumps back and he goes, "I'm not putting my suitcase in there with those Ouija boards and haunted dolls and everything." He goes, "Oh man, you drive around." I go, "What am I supposed to do?" People give me these things. They bring them to the campuses when, I'm lecturing and stuff like that. And I end up, I said, I blasted him and everything. He said, "Well, I put my suitcase in the back seat of the car. I'm not putting it in your trunk." So again, things like that do occur and they do happen. So
Damien had a question. Is it a curse or attachment spirit that basically gets hired like a thug?
yes, that's a good one. Okay, that's done with intent and purpose. A good example would be a voodoo doll. That's the spirit is deliberately being put with that to follow through with doing the deeds that are needed. So, therefore, that would be about the best example of the most common thing that is practiced where spirit is attached to it deliberately and once with an individual can cause harm.
Mhm.
Follow through with the deed.
That's even like choky boxes that they do where they do that stuff. It's like a curse on a person that's actually to do physical harm and cause their health to fail.
Yeah. Again, people don't realize a lot of times that these things occur and happen. Can a lot of times things be coincidental? Absolutely. I mean, individuals can end up getting sick or something at the same time that they're working on something. But again, just, it's just weird a lot of times that certain things can line up with a person's health or, things can happen from that particular point.
He says, but comes at a price for the pastor. Yeah, because I'm a firm believer everything works in a circle. It always reverts back to the person who cast that curse on somebody.
There's never a deed done that there isn't a price paid on.
Yep.
And anybody and anyone that doesn't understand that should be very careful with getting involved with this. You go in there and you start cutting deals, there's a price to pay down the road.
Hey, Kimmy, welcome in. Yeah, I mean, we deal with a lot of that, especially of our residential cases with Ouija boards and curses
Mhm.
and all that stuff. A lot of people, they get these Ouija boards and they think they're a game, and they start opening doorways and don't close it out, and then there you go.
But it's not the board. That's the whole thing. It's just a tool. The Ouija board is nothing more than, a tool. People play it. They could have something, uh, bring something in. We are the conduit. We are the ones that bring the spirit
Right,
forth. I know people that have played Ouija and never had a thing happen to them. I deal with the people that have opened up that Pandora's box, brought the spirit through. Thus, the board could end up having something attached, or the people have something attached.
right.
So again, it's like anything else, a person that uses the pendulum or,
Mhm.
tarot cards, anything. I mean, they're just tools. That's all they are. It's the individuals that get involved with it, individuals that start using these things. If, you're not prepared or know exactly what to do and how to do it, you're going to leave yourself wide open for things.
Right.
Again, will I sit down and play a Ouija board? I got offered 10 grand and I wouldn't take it to play Ouija. I ain't playing no Ouija. I don't want to play that. No.
Me neither. I think
I'll collect them and put them in the museum, but I don't want to play them.
Damien had another good question. With planetary alignment in February, do you think astrology alignment will have an effect on locations during this time?
I believe very strongly in the fact these things pre-exist anything that we can comprehend and understand. When the different planets line up, the full moon, the new moon, astrology, all of this stuff, numerology, all this stuff has been around longer than anything we know as far as organized systems. Okay.
Mhm.
Did you know that the Ouija board goes right back to the Egyptians and the Greeks and everybody?
Yep,
They had their own made ones that they would use as far as Ouija would go. And runes, the little runes,
yep.
again, those predate everything too. People don't realize all that. That's how far back these things go. Thus, do I believe that all these things get affected by all of this? There is no doubt, no way, shape, or form that all these things affect absolutely everything.
Mhm.
There's just no doubt about it. I've seen it too much where everything lines up. So again, I have friends that are astrologers and different things, numerologists, and a lot of times they'll tell me different things, and I'll go okay. And when it ends up happening and everything
Right.
coincidental, I don't think so. I think that there's a lot to
Damien asked, "Can I hug you both?"
it. You sure can.
He's got Ouija board arms. He's got Ouija board tattooed arms. That's a tragic
Ah,
story. April says, "I'm newer to you guys, but I study ancient texts."
okay. To if she's studying the ancient text, again, it's an important element of learning and gaining as much knowledge as you possibly can. Because with ancient things that are established, is things that just don't line up to anything we comprehend or understand today.
Yep. And Nancy said, "Even if it came from the store, so it is the intent and the belief."
That's behind everything. Has absolutely nothing to do. You can have a if she's referring to a Ouija board, you can have an old Ouija board, you can have a new Ouija board, you can have a handmade Ouija board. It doesn't matter. It's not the board itself, it's the people with the intent and the way they're using it, what they're calling upon, and what they're bringing in.
Damien said, "Is there a connection with skyquakes or horn of Jericho that are heard all over the world, and spirit energy, or a different source of?"
Damien, you're getting deep here, buddy.
He does. He gets deep with this thing.
He's getting deep into all this stuff. Do I believe that there's a connection? Absolutely. Nothing happens coincidentally. Everything is lined. Everything happens, and I think it's predetermined. So therefore, is there a connection? I think so.
Linda Scott says, I look forward to seeing you at the Missouri Paracon when the planets are aligned on February 28th.
Well, I would look very forward to it too, but unfortunately, I'm not at that gig. So
Damien goes, sorry. And then,
it's okay.
no, you're good, Damien. You got some really good questions.
he he knows his shit.
He does.
Yes, he does.
So, yeah, definitely. If you get out here to Missouri, we got to get you on some locations with us.
Well, I'm eventually just going to have to get out there because my warden's going to come get me if I don't.
Oh, yeah.
Just say somebody said, "Hey, warden." She go, "Oh, that's Zaffis."
Well, when we first went there and went to the museum and we introduced ourselves, and she knew us from online being related to you and Ed and Lorraine. He's like, "You tell your cousin he needs to get back out here. We miss him."
Oh, I know.
Like, I'll tell him. But I said, "The man's busy. But I'll get him out here. Don't worry."
Yeah.
Every time she sees us, she runs up and gives us a hug.
Not great people. Great people.
Well, did you see they actually tore down Cell House 1?
No, I didn't even know that.
Yep, they tore it down right behind 3 there. They tore that one down. They're
Wait
tearing.
a minute. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. That was about a year or two ago, wasn't it?
No, just this summer here they were doing it because they shut the prison down for a little bit. They shut tours down for a little
Oh,
while.
no, no, no. Wait a minute. I'm thinking about something collapsing when a tornado went through.
Oh,
Wasn't there?
that was 4 when it ripped the roof off there. Tornado.
Okay, all right. I was gonna say I remember something about one. Okay, that's what I'm probably thinking of.
Aaron Blackburn asked, "Do you think using the spirit box is the same as using a Ouija board?"
It's all forms of communication. Again, uh, I view it, and this is my opinion. No matter what we do, you're using a Ouija board, you're doing EVPs, we're doing the spirit boxes. Any of these are all forms of spirit communication. So therefore, we all take that upon ourselves when we do any of that. So again, do I think somebody's going to become possessed, doing some of these different things? No, I think that's far and few in between. But again, it's all forms of communication and it's all stuff that we do. If we don't do it, we're never going to get any information and we're never going to find anything out. So,
Exactly.
yeah, you have to move forward with doing stuff.
Damien said, "It's only great people like yourselves willing to share and educate from learned and experiences that is possible every day, a school day."
Oh, well, thank you. That's cool, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you, Damien. That's what we love to do. We love to educate and spread the knowledge. That's Ed was a firm believer on that too. I know that he keeping the word out.
But yeah, the one thing, again, uh, you watch the controversy, and I sit back. I mean, I think that's why so much, because so many people will say that to me. They go, "Johnny, everything rolls off of you. You don't pay that much. You don't let anything get to you where you start throwing up crazy postings." And it's like, no, because I've watched it for so many years with them. I mean,
Yep.
they've been shredded since the day they got involved with the work,
Yeah, exactly.
and it made them tougher and it made them stronger. And watching how they would handle and do things, even knowing that some of the stuff that gets out there and is said that is like so bizarre that I just sit here and I go, no, but I'm not going to intertwine and feed into a lot of that
Right.
because it defeats everything that we're about. And I would watch the both of them, especially when they used to do their classes or they would do different things and take people under the wing to train them and show them different things. Especially with the demonology. Ed would only go so far with demonology with people.
Right.
And again, I would watch it. People would start arguing with him that they wanted to get more involved with it, more, with going to exorcisms and this and that. And Ed would just shake his head no. He would just go, no. And a lot of times I would say to him afterwards, I said, well, what? He goes, they're not cut out for it. He goes, you'll learn. You're going to learn. And sure enough, you do. You learn
Mhm.
to understand that, you know, with the demonology end of this, it's a double-edged sword. You got people in the dark end of demonology and you got people on the light end of demonology.
Yep.
So it's like everything else out there, you have to learn that craft and learn to understand what things are about and learn to respect people. Just because somebody does something doesn't mean it makes them an evil person or a bad person.
Right.
That's the other thing you have to take into your curriculum when you're learning all of this stuff on what that knowledge base has and what it offers to people when you get involved with this stuff.
Mhm.
Shoot, I think I probably got more pagan and witch friends than I do anything else.
I've got quite a few also. April
Uh,
said faith was very important to them. People just don't have faith anymore.
no, when you look at our when you look at things from a global perspective and you try to comprehend how people look at stuff across the board today, organized religions are just deteriorating. They really are. And people's belief systems are not what they used to be.
Right.
I mean, again, we're in a different world altogether on the way people view things and the way people look at things. I mean, you just look at the other countries, the way they view their religious beliefs, whether it's Christianity, Buddhism, whatever. You have your hardcore people. I mean, even here, too, you have your hardcore believers and you have your mediocre and you have your non-believers. It's just the nature of it. But today, a lot more people just don't believe in anything from an organized perspective. They just don't.
Right. Damien asked, "Was there ever a case he wished he did different, or was he no regrets on how he conducted himself around all the spirits?"
No, there's very few cases that I can think of because I'm a type of individual. Anybody that's ever worked with me will tell you this. They get nervous because I'm too quiet. When I'm interviewing or I'm trying to figure things out, I get extremely quiet because I need to understand the environment. I need to understand the people. I need to understand a lot of what is happening with circumstances. So therefore, usually when I make a decision, I always hope it's the right decision. Um, because with me, the most important thing I always do is I put people first. And when I'm dealing with the family, it's usually the kids, then the elders, the parents, or whomever else is involved. That's the way I look at it. And it's important to present what you feel is going to be able to help them to be able to move forward. That's the most important thing. And again, another lesson well taught from my uncle. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it. And
Right.
I abide by that today. You can ask me anything. I'll offer what I know, what I think will be able to help you. If you choose to do that and be able to move forward, that's up to you. Doesn't mean I'm going to turn around and hate the person or anything because
Right.
they're not listening to what I got to say. But kumbaya, you're on your own. That's the way I look at it. Move forward.
Damien asked, "What's the correct 3 a.m. witching hour time zone do you feel it runs on since we're
I love it. I've never had anybody. I don't know. I love it. Because I don't necessarily believe in the 3 a.m. thing. Okay. What I do believe in is the fact that, a lot more occurs at night. Why? Because we're a lot quieter. We pay attention to a lot more that is happening.
Right.
So, you know, this guy came into play with the 3 a.m. thing because it knocks the Trinity. That is where that all came about. So, therefore, I mean, are there circumstances where things happen and they're right into play at that 3 a.m., whatever time zone it could possibly be. I love it. I like that one. Whatever time zone that could possibly be in, I don't know because I don't know, Damon. That just threw everything off kilter with that one. Because you stop and think about it, it happens here, and then something's happening out in California. We got that 3 hour difference, so I don't know.
Well, I remember Ed saying between like 6 p.m. and like it's up to 6 a.m. or something like that. I remember one of his videos.
That's okay. There you go. You're absolutely correct. My uncle would say this all the time. He would go, right up to, you know, when the sun goes down and it starts to get dark out until the sun comes up is when you have your most activity.
Yep.
That is 100% accurate for Ed Warren.
Yep.
Now, he also did, because you got to remember, he was a very firm believer in his belief system as far as his Christianity did go. He was pretty hardcore with that, believe it or not, with a lot of the things that occur and a lot of things that would happen. They were, he was from that time framing along with Lorraine. They believed very strongly with a lot of the things within the practicing. And he did believe a lot of things did occur around the 3 a.m. But like you said, and he had said that to me many a times, when the sun goes down, it gets dark, activity kicks up. And when the sun comes up, it calms down. He used to say that all the time.
Yep.
Thank you for bringing that up. Not many people bring that up.
And I do remember Ed saying that in his videos, and I was a strong believer of that because I've noticed it on several of my cases too.
Yeah.
It would start like the one case we did last weekend. I started investigating about 6 o'clock at night, and I was already getting activity at 6 o'clock at night. I was getting responses,
Hmm.
and it lasted clear to almost. I think we got done about 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was still. That's when I did the cleansing.
Yeah. Activity goes 24/7. We just don't pay attention to much of it during the day. Now, if you'll remember, season one of Haunted Collector, we would do investigations during the day.
Yep, I do.
And, we used to get all kinds of crazy activity. I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. They were finally bringing it to the forefront. And all the executives made us stop doing it. Oh, it has to be in the dark. Why? Why does it have to be in the dark? We have activity 24/7. It's just that people don't pay attention to it during the day.
Yeah, I was a custodian at old school here where I live in Missouri, and the school was built in 1909. And I was up there by myself one day. They called me in the disinfected building because we were closed due to sickness. I'm up on the second floor, and I heard what clearly sound was our cooks for the kitchen. Nobody's supposed to be in the building but me. I had the building shut down. I go downstairs to the kitchen. It's locked up tight. Nobody's in the building but me. Look at the camera systems. Nobody pulled in the parking lot. And this
Mm.
happened on several occasions. It mocked teachers, everything. And this
Yeah.
was like 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If there's activity around, it's going to happen. I don't care if it's during the day or if it's at night. It's just that, like I said, during the day, 90% of the people just don't pay attention to it.
Yep.
And again, too, I remember when we were filming, the whole production, a lot of the production guys are going, we never even thought about this. I go, how could you not think about this? I said, it happens 24/7. You're just not paying attention to it because we're running around, we're working, we're doing this, we're doing that. Nighttime, we're sitting down, we're calm, watching TV after dinner and everything. So we hear something, we pay more attention to it. During
Yep.
the day, we don't.
Like
Mm.
Greg said, moon overhead, moon underfoot.
Very true.
But yeah, I mean, I would see stuff and hear stuff in that school all the time, even during the day. My dad and I were up there working on a wall. It was a plaster wall that had collapsed, and we were up there on the weekend. And I ran home to get a saw blade. He was sitting there. He watched the trash can that was filled with all plaster lift up, and then he seen somebody peek through the classroom door window
Mm,
at.
well,
And I've had the office staff even report they'd be in the office by themselves during the day, and she would lock the door because she had her share of experiences in that place, and the door handle would be sitting there rattling.
mm,
She told me a story. She was in the one summer. She was in the restroom on the south end, which was built in the '90s, and she thought the one custodian was playing a joke on her.
mm,
She could hear talking in the hallway. He was up in the office with the superintendent.
cool.
So, and I've got some good evidence out of that school, and there was another school I worked at also that they would see a little girl walking up and down the hallway, and I'd be there at night, and that's my father had his first paranormal experience in that school. He come there. They came to pick me up that night, and I had cameras sitting out in the hallway,
Hmm.
and he's standing there, and I'm picking up the one camera, and his hat goes flying. I'm like, "Ah, you're just playing a joke on me." He's like, "No, I didn't do that." I'm like, "Nah, you're just full of it. You're playing a joke on me." So we go down the hallway even further, and I'm picking up the other camera, and I'm looking right at him. His hands are by his side. There goes his hat again. Flies right off his head.
Crazy.
So, April says, "I think spirits can time travel. I still, to this day, believe my dad visited me when I was 13, but he did not pass away until I was 15."
Well, again, by if I'm understanding correctly, what she might be referring to, um, again, might be by location, where spirit, physical person and spirit could be in one place at one time, and the spirit of it could be in another one. They call that bilocation. So again, that is known to happen and occur. So I have to say, I agree that that could occur and happen.
What's your theory on, like, dream traveling? I mean, like, there's times I'll dream and I'll wake up in my old house in New York and my mom's standing there. My mom's passed away, and I will see her at times.
Well, I don't think that's time. Really has anything to do with time. That if you're dreaming, about circumstances or anything like that, because I do not believe that there is time in the spirit realm. It means absolutely nothing. We humans are the ones that abide by time and look at time. Nobody else, especially in the spirit world. I just think that that's again. I think in the dream state is when we get most of our information. So therefore, a lot of times when we do remember dreams, because I very seldomly remember my dreams, but
Yeah,
9 out of 10 times when I do, it relates to something. So therefore, I think good possibility information that's being fed to us.
that's like I had a dream. I woke up in a farmhouse, and I still remember this dream. And I'm like you, half time I don't remember when I dream. So, but I still have not found this farmhouse yet. I don't know if it's a place I'm supposed to maybe investigate to help somebody or what it could
Might
be.
come in down the road. Like I said, no time in the spirit realm.
Yep. And when I woke up in that, I was laying kind of like there's like a little parlor area you walk in and you could hear somebody yelling, "Help me," upstairs.
Mm.
So, and that happened when I was a teenager, but I still haven't found it yet.
Might show up one of these times.
May have. Damien's got another question. Have you both experienced Mandela effect where you remember things that didn't happen?
Absolutely. And again, I believe in the simple fact that it could be something that was experienced that ties in from the past. So, therefore, a lot of times when something occurs or something happens and it feels like a flashback, is it something that you could be picking up from the past that occurred that could be tying in with you? I look at that a lot differently than what most people refer to. I call it genetic coding. That's how I look at it. That things could be
Mhm.
genetically coded when we have flashbacks or different things occur and happen. So again, yes, I believe very strongly in the fact of that. Yeah.
April said, I didn't see or hear from my dad since he passed. I've been given many reasons why, but he just moved on.
Okay. I mean, I again, I'm not quite sure what to say. That means he's at peace. If you're not hearing from him and nothing's occurring, he crossed over and he seems to be comfortable with everything and
Mhm.
feels you're okay if you haven't heard from him. To me, that's a positive. That's a positive, good thing, and
Yep.
that's the way you should perceive that.
Well, it's like when my grandmother passed away, she hung around at the house because she had some wishes she wanted fulfilled. She wanted her basement redone and a few other things. So we redid the whole basement. I can remember my dad telling me he'd be down there and ripping the walls out of the basement, and she'd be shutting the door on him. She flipped the circuit breaker off on him, and he'd yell to her to stop, and then it would stop. And then once we got the basement all redone, she left. I can remember going to work and her closet light would be on in the morning, or you walk in and the alarm clock's going off. That was never set.
Mm,
That was just her routine every morning.
she stuck to it.
So, and then once that was done, she moved on. She went
There you
with
go.
her grandfather to heaven. Damien asked, would this be spirit manipulation of memory? Probably
Could
for yeah,
okay. It could be. It could be. Do I feel that you know, uh, other spirit or other things can manipulate thought or manipulate information that is being fed? Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. So I would say yes to that.
yet another good question. Could hell be the Earth's core pulling a non-physical body, pulling the energy with gravity since no physical matter would stop you passing through solid matter?
Yes. I, again, would look at that from a perspective, again, when anything is manipulated that we have to do with energy, period, as far as whether it's the core with the gravitational pulls or the outer bands with the gravitational thing, again, all of this intertwines and inter it just affects absolutely everything and anything that we deal with. Absolutely.
Greg said animal activity equals the moon and sun activity.
It is okay. You mean as far as I'm not understanding that.
If you're still on, Greg, can you
I
let us
mean, is he talking about as far as energy wise or
then he said after that, it is to me related to spirit too.
okay? Okay, here again, that when you're referring to what I believe Greg is referring to as far as energy, whether it's the spirit energy of animals, the moon, the planets, anything, I believe that all of that is connected as far as energy and spirit goes. Absolutely.
Damien said, so a spirit could blow away with energy, which is why they don't exit buildings.
Possibility. Could very well be.
Yeah,
Very well be.
got some good questions.
This dude gets deep. That's good though. That's
Yeah,
good.
it's teaching us all something too, definitely. I would have never thought of any of that, and I've been doing this a while too. Greg says, "Thank you, John."
You're welcome, bud.
He's got a show here on Supernatural Link on Friday nights, the Mariner of Spirit
Cool.
that he does. Damien says, "Appreciate you, gentlemen."
That was good talking to you, buddy. You had some good questions.
We got a few minutes left of the show. If you guys want to post some more questions for John or me, we'll see if we can answer them the best we can.
So
Tracy,
what's your go ahead. Oh, so was
Tracy
it?
says, "I'm really enjoying this show. I'm so glad I joined."
Well, I'm glad you tuned in.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Tracy. What were you gonna ask, John?
I forgot now.
What's
I
up?
don't remember.
What's my next investigation or something?
Oh, what's your next adventure?
My next one, we got a residential case next weekend.
Cool.
Out to help a family that's got some little kids in the home. They're experiencing some phenomenon. They think it's possibly demonic, but we're not sure yet until we actually get in there and dig deep. Probably just a regular spirit. We find more of them than you do your demonic entities.
Mm, yeah. Well, I got something else. I finally, after all these years, is finally happening in December. I'm doing an event up in Newport, Rhode Island, in one of the mansions.
Oh wow!
Oh, I was like a kid in a candy store when my friend called and goes, "You want to do this event with me up in Newport?" I said, "Do you know how many years I've been wanting to? I've been up there and worked on a couple of the mansions, but we were never allowed to talk about them or anything because the
Right,
families didn't want it. But anyhow, so for we're doing a Christmas theme based paranormal thing with ghost stories and candle lit and the fireplace is going in the mansion and some good old ghost stories and things like that. I'm like a kid in a candy store with this one because, like I said, it's always something I've
right.
always wanted to do. So I'm so looking forward to that. See, there's always new things. Something new for me. I've never done anything like that before. So I'm looking forward to it in December.
Damien, another question: can a spirit reside in a recorded tape and use it as a portal from location to the recorded tape?
Absolutely. Here again, when any type of energy, especially with magnetic tape, we all know that that's the best. And I still use cassette recorders myself because I believe in that very strongly. Attracts and attaches to that. So therefore, with that energy being attached to that, do I believe that spirit might possibly recognize that? I'm going to have to say yes because you stop and think about that. A lot of times when we do certain things from a religious perspective and we play chants or we play, certain types of things or Gregorian chants, that affects spirits. So therefore, do I believe that there could be a reaction from spirit to that? I have to say absolutely. And do they recognize it? Absolutely.
Sarah asked, "Did you encounter a friendly ghost for the your entire paranormal experience?"
Yes, there's been I really wouldn't say friendly ghost, but when dealing a lot of times with human spirit um, and encountering situations, um, it's I find it very unique and very fulfilling if I'm with a psychic or it's something that we can do to help a human spirit and that needs to, if closure can't be brought to the forefront. I find that very positive. I find that, something very rewarding. Um, I was on a campus and they had a brand new building that they had put up as a cafeteria and a few other building things in this building. And they had a wicked, wicked haunting breaking out in the cafeteria. The building wasn't even a year old. Well, we went in and we were doing a spirit communication, me and about 20 or 30 other students. And we found out that there was a barn that was there that had burnt down and a little boy got killed in it. And when that was coming through, the girls were communicating back and forth. And I told the girls to tell the little boy's spirit to cross over. We had a big rumble in the building, and I believe the little boy's spirit crossed over to go find his mother and father. And they haven't had any problems in that building since. Was it how it went? I don't know, but it occurred. It happened. There were like 40 of us that witnessed it, experienced it. So to me, that is a beautiful, positive type thing that transpired and happened when we deal with anything with the human spirit intertwining in some of these cases. Some of them are the most beautiful ghost stories that are out there that are in existence. A old couple. This was back with Ed and Lorraine. We went to go investigate. The husband had passed away. The woman was heartbroken that they were so close and everything. There was a heart that burnt into the front lawn.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely amazing, amazing case. And then she started showing Lorraine all the different things that her husband would write and draw the little hearts and everything on.
Hmm.
Very, very an emotional type situation. And, Lorraine was going back and forth with the spirit, telling the spirit that she was okay, telling the husband that she was okay, he could cross over and move over. But what a beautiful story.
Yes.
Such a beautiful, beautiful story.
Carol said, great show. Thank you both.
Well, thank you for tuning in and listening
Yeah,
to us.
thank you for tuning in. Damien said, included pictures used for novels and have, say, 1 million prints and have access to 1 million portals.
I don't know. I would think it wouldn't be a million portals, but yet the one portal, because the energy is still being directed to that one location. That's my theory. I would think at it from that point that you could have that. You know, I wonder if he's talking about the little boy uh, paintings that's all over the place that are haunted. I think I even have one of those too. But anyhow, I would say yeah, you could have a million prints that
Right.
could give it the recognition, but would point to that one particular spot where the energy would be located or recognized, not located.
April says, I've enjoyed this show and I learned so much every time. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Tracy says, I used to go visit the breakwaters and such up there.
Breakwaters. It's a phenomenal, phenomenal place. I believe that's the Vanderbilt one, if I remember correctly. Though it's an interesting, interesting house.
Liz Mine said, thank you for a great podcast.
Thanks for listening, Liz.
Uh, Tracy said, the whole area is crazy haunted.
I know. I know.
Greg
There's
agreed.
yes, I've been in a couple of them. The a couple of the mansions I were in with my aunt and uncle, and we had to sign non-disclosure shit and everything else. Oh, it drives me nuts. I wish we could talk about them, but I just don't feel like having to hear from people's attorneys.
Damien had another question. So, split personality can be passed on to spirit form also.
Do I believe that? Hmm. Multiple personality. Well, yeah, because we know it's different. It could be different spirit that is communicating and coming through. So, oh well, okay. We do know that true possession. So I have to say yes. Yes, true possession. a lot of times when the people are under and they start speaking, there's different spirit that communicate through them. Could be human spirit, could be something mimic that's demonic. So I have to say yes, absolutely. All
There.
right, it's 11 o'clock, buddy. We got to wrap up.
Yep. All right. I thank you guys for joining tonight and tuning in. My cousin John Zaffis, the Godfather of the Paranormal. If
Thanks
people
for
want to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of
the
you?
best way you can ever get a hold of me is johnzaffis.com and takes you into everything, and you can find me and might not get back to you right away, but I will get back to
Yeah, John's a busy man.
you. You know. All right. Everybody have a good Thanksgiving and a safe one, and take care, buddy.
We'll see you next week, everybody.